India is the mother of democracy.
कैसी पुलिस हो आप? कैसी पुलिस हो? मार रहे हो आप लोग? तुम नहीं मार रहे हो आप लोग? अरे तो यूनिफॉर्म तो मतलब थोड़ी नहीं मारोगे, यूनिफॉर्म के पीछे से मारोगे।
इस देश को संभाल लेना, वरना 75 साल बाद कोई गवार इसको धर्म के नाम पर बांट देगा।
On the 20th of July at 4:40 a.m., some people protesting at Jantar Mantar went out to check the surroundings. On a nearby road, they noticed a damaged van. It wasn't there before. It was as if it had been intentionally parked there. On the other side, right outside Jantar Mantar, some people noticed a truck full of bricks and stones. All of this was happening in the dark. By this point, the protests had been going on for more than 20 days, and everything had been 100% non-violent and peaceful. And then, near Sansad Marg, there was another car with broken windows and other damage. Strangely, no car was even allowed in this area, and the police had blocked this road from all sides. So, it was not possible for any car to have been there without the police's permission. Many people recognized the pattern and knew what would happen next. Some protesters left this note on the car. This has been planted by the government to discredit the protest. That same night, the Delhi police removed all metal detectors and security checks from Jantar Mantar. Look, the Delhi police has stopped all checking. There's no checking at all. No metal detectors. Everything is open. People are freely moving in and out. It was very strange because the next morning there was going to be a protest march. A lot more people were expected to come. So from this point of view, security should have been increased. But here it was the opposite. A sinister plan was playing out behind the scenes. There is no checking. If something happens tomorrow, who will take responsibility? The next morning, no one expected this. An autocratic government was ready to dismantle democracy to hold on to its power. The government started a war against the people of its own country. Democracy is one of our sacred and shared values. The people of the country were misled and mistreated in how it was planned. To understand this better, we need to rewind a bit. 20th June 2026. The day when the Cockroach Jantar Party began its sit-in protest at Jantar Mantar. With only one demand, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. There were 151,000 medical seats. Today, that has increased to 108,000 medical seats. No one in our country should dare to play with the future of our children or have the power to sell the neat newspaper. After about 8 days, on the 28th of June, social activist Sonam Wangchuk reached Jantar Mantar. She began an indefinite hunger strike in support of the protest. Hail Mother India! This protest continued peacefully. The police had no objection. In fact, we saw several videos of friendly interactions between the protesters and the police. But the government completely ignored it. In the first 17 days of the hunger strike, Sonam lost around 8 kilograms. Slowly, through social media, Sonam's pictures and videos started going viral. Seeing her in a weak condition, people's hearts were in a state of shock. With her support, voices from across the country started rising. And here, the biggest turning point of this protest was 17th July 2026. Home Minister Amit Shah, suddenly, Delhi Police Commissioner Satish Golcha was removed from his post. This was a big surprise because a few months later, in April 2027, he was going to retire. But he was immediately removed. Why? Perhaps he was upset that the protest was going on peacefully. There was no violence, and the support for the people was increasing. Instead, IPS officer Anurag Kumar was brought in. He was the Special Director of the Intelligence Bureau. On the 18th July 2026, at 6:30 in the morning, when the crowd at Jantar Mantar was at its lowest, and at a time when Abhijit Deep was taking a bath in a nearby guest house, suddenly the police and RF soldiers got on the stage and dramatically, covered in a white sheet, kidnapped Sonam Wangchuk in an ambulance. They were forced to take him to Safdarjung Hospital. Sonam Wangchuk was forced to leave the Delhi Police Department on the 21st of the month, and he was taken to Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi. The question is, was the former commissioner of the Delhi Police, Satish Golcha, removed because he refused to do so? Perhaps the government hoped that if the movement was removed, the protesters would lose their courage. Whether they lost their courage or not, we'll find out on the 20th of July. But before that, on the night of 19th July, a lot of arrangements were made in Delhi. At 7 p.m., a tweet from the Twitter account of DCP New Delhi was sent. Delhi police put up Section 163 of the BNSS, according to which more than 5 people could not be gathered in one place. In a threatening manner, the police appealed to the people that they should not be a part of any march. To stop the students, 10-feet-high barricades were laid. Initially, there were 3-layer barricades. When it was not enough, later these barricades were welded together. Apart from this, the government installed communication jammers all over the area so that people couldn't communicate. The internet was also shut down at 150 sites in central Delhi so that no video could be released from the city. The whole movement was planned from all sides to crush them completely. It rained, but the crowd didn't decrease. Thousands of students started coming from the metro. Around 9 in the morning, the Delhi metro was announced. Due to security reasons, 5 metro stations were shut down: Janpath, Rajiv Chowk, Patel Chowk, Central Secretariat and Savatir. All 5 stations were on the route to march. The time when people had to reach Jantar Mantar, all the roads to reach there were closed. A huge crowd gathered inside. People started chanting slogans inside the metro stations. When the patience was out of hand, people jumped out of the barriers of the metro stations. People were so excited that by 10 p.m. the barricades had begun to break. The government's preparations were in vain for 2 hours, and the police's attitude changed. At 10:51 p.m., hundreds of students from the Bundy House metro station to Jantar Mantar, the police suddenly started to strike. They had come to participate in the march, but before they reached the protest site, they were beaten for no reason. At 11:05 p.m., Sonam Wangchuk, the director of the hospital, wrote to the hospital in Safdarjung Hospital. He said, "I want to tell you that I'm feeling absolutely fine today, and I should be allowed to leave the hospital." So that they could participate in the march, but they were not allowed to do so. By this time the crowd had reached the lakhs. People were marching towards the parliament. March! 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 In response, the police fired at least 25 tear gas bullets at Parliament Street. These are protesters, and the tear gas bullets are being fired continuously. In many videos, you can see that the police are not only there to stop people, but even the people who were standing were thrown tear gas. Watch this video. The people who were sitting comfortably were also thrown tear gas. Around 12, the police blocked the ITO development route. This is the main road connecting East Delhi to the Parliament. And shortly after that, the protesters marching towards the Parliament from the Parliament route are stopped outside the police station. They are also beaten up. This is a rapid action force. YouTuber Sham Mira Singh was also present at this point, and he recorded on video how people were mercilessly killed. They were being shot with tear gas, and they were being charged with a stick. It's like a riot. Look. What is this? They are like a woman and a woman. Normal people are being beaten. Meanwhile, the gates of the Parliament are closed. At around 1:30 p.m., the protesters are detained at Ruffy Mark. When the students were driven away from here, they reached the gardens of India Gate, and the police drove motorcycles and vans in these lawns. After this, the students sat on the Press Club and Raya Sena Road, but some protesters did reach quite close to the Parliament. At this point, a terrifying video was shown, where security forces were taking firing positions, assuming that it was the Jallianwala Bagh scene. General Dyer was giving orders to fire. At this time, the Parliament complex is under a multi-tiered lockdown, and security personnel are physically holding the iron gates. Meanwhile, Narendra Modi, like a scared Tana Shah, leaves the Parliament building and runs away. When the police stopped people from coming to the Jantar Mantar, thousands of people gathered at Connaught Place and Janpath. The students gathered at the central park of Connaught Place. He declared a point and refused to move from here. Here was YouTuber Sarthak Goswami. A student told him that in this area the police charged sticks and threw stones at protesters and students. So they charged sticks and stones, the police. And the police didn't sell the number plate. A clear video of this has come up where you can clearly see that the police were throwing stones at the students. There are many videos of the violence committed by the police. Videos in which women are brutally killed. Unmanned people were brutally beaten. The police didn't even let the doctors help them. "We are doctors. We came to help you. We didn't even say a word." They said, "Who called you?" They beat us up. On the way to the police station, a policeman was strangling a child for a long time. The most disturbing thing was that the police officers who were arrested, the nameplates of the vehicles were removed from their uniform. "Where is your tag? Where is your nameplate? Please answer us." Even the number plates of the government-controlled vehicles were hidden. And the policemen who were mercilessly beating the students, they had hidden their faces with a handkerchief. They were behaving like terrorists. Apart from this, we also saw that some people came in ordinary clothes, were roaming around with the policemen, and were beating the policemen. When YouTuber Sandesh Bhatia asked the police about it, the police pushed him forward. "Why are your men in civil clothing? Why don't you have a nameplate? Tell me, tell me, Tell me. We are citizens of your country. Why aren't you telling us? Do you know any commissioner? At around 3 p.m, the police entered the Jantar Mantar, and there too the beatings began. Watch this video of Shyam Mira Singh, how the students were run away to the footwear. The Delhi police dismantled the stage where Sonam Wangchuk was tortured for 3 weeks. The journalists, ground reporters and YouTubers who were present there were also being harassed. A man in a civil dress pushed YouTuber Sarthak Goswami and slapped him. He was holding a chair and hit me. His name tag, his tundra, his hands are covered in mud. He will shout if he is sitting in front of him. He called the goons and beat them. Sandesh Bhatia was also slapped. You go. It will be beneficial for you. I was going, you slapped me. You only slapped me, you go. Being Human Channel's Ramit Verma was beaten so badly that blood was starting to flow from his head. 5 to 7 minutes ago, my head was broken. Even after 5 to 7 minutes, when the policeman saw that he was bleeding, he still turned around and hit me on my jaw. I salute all these ground journalists who were present on the ground despite all the problems and were working to bring the truth out. They did what the mainstream media should have done. If they hadn't done it, we wouldn't have been able to find out all this news. Because that day, the entire area was blocked by the internet. In the meantime, the Modi government also pretended to talk to distract everyone. At 10:40 a.m, the news was that the chief spokesperson of the CJP, Saurav Das, had been taken to the office of the Deputy Commissioner. The centre was being spoken to by the DCP, Sachin Sharma. First, the government said that they would send a district magistrate to talk to him. Then, they said that they would meet with a secretary of the union government. Then, they would offer to meet with the Minister of State. But the CJP refused every time. They said that either they would meet the Prime Minister or a union cabinet minister. In the end, they were asked to meet the Health Minister, JP Nadda. They were to wait for 2 hours. After waiting for 2 hours, JP Nadda met them for only 10 minutes and said that he would talk internally about their demands. But the truth was that this was a distraction. When the protest was at its peak, all the leaders and spokespersons had to disappear, so that the protesters didn't see any leader. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the police started charging everyone with sticks and started beating everyone. How do you think? The people who want to break the country are the ones who are playing the drums today. But the truth is, the more the government tried to suppress, the more the people's voices rose. We saw the revolutionary spirit, which was seen in the freedom fighters during the independence. These protests weren't limited to Delhi alone. They reached every corner of the country. The students of Lucknow University also protested on this issue. They were arrested by the UP police. The students of Allahabad also marched. The students of Ahmedabad also protested, and they were detained there as well. The protests were also seen in Kolkata. The protests were also seen in Chaitya Bhumi, Mumbai. The protests were also seen in Bangalore. The protests were also held in Goa in support of the students. And thousands of students marched, even in Arunachal Pradesh. And the biggest thing was that the Jantar Mantar that was forced to be vacated by 3:30 p.m, the protesters returned to the Jantar Mantar in the evening. The stage that had been broken was put back on. The crowd could be removed from the sticks. But the thoughts in the minds, the heart of the people who were involved in the revolution can be removed from the stick. This will be an inspiration for many generations to come. That in a time, Indians were against the East India Company. And today, these Indians are against the West India Company. Today, the world is witnessing how a country called the Internationalist conspired against its own children and waged a war on its own people. Do you know what was the strangest part? There was only one demand from the children, that the exams should not be stolen, that a better education minister should be appointed. What did we, the youth, ask for? We only asked for a resignation from the chief executive officer, and for this very reason they were left with tears. I just want to say this to the Prime Minister. Shame on you, Narendra Modi. The government that is beating up the children, it's time for them to leave. It's only a matter of time. I want to tell the government, don't show too much of your taunt. Don't test the limits of the people, to what extent people can tolerate this violence. Because the end of any violence would not be right for any side. The more the Tanashahs in history thought themselves to be great, the more terrifying their end would be. Before we leave, don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you.